Miss Rinaldi. She works at the Starbucks in the Woodbridge Mall, correct?
Yes,
How long have you been there for? I'll start off with asking my questions.
So I've been with the company for about 9 years, and I've been in the Woodbridge Mall since October of this past year. So I did my first holiday in the mall, and now I'm coming into our summertime in the mall.
Okay. Anyone want to piggyback off of that question? Because I can follow up with another one.
Hi.
What's your favorite store in the mall?
Starbucks. Of course.
It's an easy one, eh? So you had mentioned that you started, this is not your first Starbucks gig, right?
No. So I actually changed career paths from what I initially started out doing. I worked in mental health for a long time, and I worked at Starbucks part-time, and I fell in love with my job. I realized how much I like the business aspect, and I still get to talk to people a lot. So I had started in Pennsylvania, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's up in the Pocono Mountain area. And I started as a barista, which is our lowest level of employees. And I learned how to make the drinks, really communicate with people on a different level. And then from there, I moved up to a supervisor. So the supervisor are the people who are in the store. They do a lot of the money counting. They coach the team, your team that you work with, on the behaviors you should do, and how you should engage with the customers, and also just making everything right for everybody. And then I left Pennsylvania and I came back to New Jersey. And in New Jersey, I promoted up from a shift supervisor to the next level, which is an assistant store manager. And I did that in about 7 months or so. And from there, I became a store manager. I worked really hard. So within a year, I went from a supervisor to a store manager. And I was working in Jersey City for a long time. If anybody's familiar with Jersey City, there's 5 stores down there. And I was working there for about 2 years, and I just recently bought a house down in the Woodbridge Township area, and so I decided to move over to here. And this is my first time working in an indoor mall. So I worked in a drive-through setting, which is really cool and really interesting, and it's really fast-paced. And then I worked in a couple stores in Jersey City that were off of a PATH train, so that's a totally different type of business. You have people who are commuting a lot, and you have people who live in the buildings. So you have the best of both worlds. And now I have the mall store. So the mall store is a little bit different because you have a lot of people who work in the mall, and that's your main customer base. And then you have like you guys who come in. I'm sure I've seen some of you on the weekends or on Friday nights come in, and so we have a lot of people who come shopping throughout the weekend. That's really where our customer base comes from. So even though it's Starbucks and it's this big company, there are different types of stores that we have. And so you have to kind of tailor the way you do your business based upon the type of store that you have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions about that? What do you have?
It's not a question about that. What's your favorite drink? What do you recommend?
So I knew that was coming. So I am a basic coffee drinker. And the really cool part about Starbucks is there's a lot of different types of coffee. But if I was to do a cold drink, I like white tea lemonade with raspberry. So it's a little bit sweet and kind of really refreshing. I think from a company perspective, our #1 selling drink is the caramel macchiato, whether it's hot or cold. A lot of people get that. It has the caramel drizzle that everybody really likes. And then also we have the frappuccinos, but the refreshers have like come in and storm, and they've taken over. So we have the strawberry refreshers, and people get like the pink drinks. Or the strawberry lemonades. I'm sure you guys have heard of those. We also have the mango dragon fruits, and that one we can do with lemonade. So those have become 2 really, really, really popular drinks that my staff probably makes about 150 on a Friday night alone. And then of course we have the frappuccinos, but my favorite would be the white tea lemonade or just a basic coffee with a little bit of cream.
Who do you find to be your biggest demographic in the mall?
So it depends on the day part. So we have different day parts, obviously the times of the days that people come through. The morning time, we have a lot of mall walkers. So there's an older population, and they come in faithfully Monday through Friday. They walk the mall. It gives them the exercise, so they come in, and that's an older population. I would say probably 50 and up, people who are retired or retiring. Then in the afternoon, early part of the day, so afternoon for Starbucks is 11 o'clock to like 3 o'clock. And that part of the day, we have a lot of the mall employees. So it's a little bit older crowd of mall employees, obviously because either older teenagers or younger adults, like the college age, they come in later on, obviously, because a lot of them are in school. So we have a demographic population of the mall employees and older people, again, who are shopping, retired people, that sort of crowd. And then at night, from about 4:30-ish until we close, we're there till 9:30, we get more of the younger crowd of people. Lower, under 30, I would say. So it does switch off based upon the day times. Friday nights, I'm there every Friday night. I close my store and it is flooded with teenagers. Right now it's prom season, so we have a lot of teenagers that are coming in, getting their prom accessories, taking pictures of their jewelry and their shoes with their drinks. And then on the weekends, we get a lot of families. So the Woodbridge Mall also does a lot of events. We had the Easter Bunny, and they were right outside my store. We've had Santa Claus. We've had a bridal expo, different things going on. So we get the crowds that attract to that too, depending on what happens. But on the weekends, it's a lot of families. A lot of big groups of families too, and traveling people. Any questions?
What were some of the difficulties you faced getting hired?
Oh. Well, that was a while ago. So I think my biggest difficulty initially for Starbucks, the area I lived in Pennsylvania, there were not a lot of job opportunities. And that's something I've learned being in New Jersey in this very concentrated area, and being right outside New York City. But in Pennsylvania, the people who live up there in those jobs are in there for a long time. There's not a lot of job jumping or job hopping in Pennsylvania, so just getting into the job itself and getting an interview and trying to stand out in my application was really difficult. But once I finally got in and was able to sit and talk to that manager and just say, listen, I just need Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night weekends, that fit the need that she had. So when we do, that's a great question, I'll lead into when we do hiring, we look at what your availability is and if it matches what we need for our stores. And that's how we decide who is going to be the best candidate. That's the first thing managers look at. So if your availability is really great, and a lot of times our businesses are weekend based because that's when a lot of people are traveling or coming into our stores, that's where you're going to get hired more. And then we look at other qualifications. You know, what are your other job skills? Do you do any volunteering? Do you speak multiple languages? Those things that really can make you marketable to come into our jobs. It's really incredible. That's a great question. Anybody else?
So before Woodbridge, you were at Starbucks where?
I was in Starbucks in Jersey City,
So
downtown Jersey City.
Okay, good. In terms of business, like volume, busier, Woodbridge or Jersey City?
Jersey City is definitely much busier. So obviously, you know, coffee in the morning, super fast. So in Jersey City, we got there at 4:30 in the morning to open at 5 a.m. Most of you guys are sleeping, I'm sure. If not, everybody is sleeping. 5 a.m., the line was out the door. People were lining up because they're ready for their commute. Where my store was located was right on top of a PATH train that leads you into Manhattan. So we would get, in that morning rush time, over 600 transactions. So that means 600 guests have come through our doors before like 10:30 in the morning. That's a lot of people, a lot. What we do on a basic weekend in my store right now is maybe 40 people in a half hour, as opposed to in Jersey City doing 115 to 120 people in a half hour. So that's a huge difference. So obviously I need to staff higher for those busier stores and busier times, and find people who are willing and able to work at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning and get up and be there on time. That's really, really important to make sure that I can service my team, but also service my customers. If I don't have people there to service my customers and do it with a smile, do you know how hard it is? I'm sure you guys are grumpy in the morning. Do you know how hard it is to get up super early in the morning and be pleasant and give people who are grumpy already coffee and make sure that they're pleasant, their day is ready to go? It's a lot of work. My job's not easy. I'm sure you guys have been to Starbucks and you've seen us do our magic, and we're making drinks and we're shaking and we're blending and we're steaming and pouring and making things. It's a lot of work. You don't realize, the people that I've brought in have said to me, you don't realize how much work it really is and how hard the job really is until you're actually doing it. Like I said, I've worked in mental health, and mental health was not as hard as Starbucks, and we're making coffee. So it's really a lot more than that, and it's a lot of fun though. That's the one really good part about my job. It's so much fun. And I get to do things like this and come to see and talk to you guys about what my job is like. What's your question?
What do you know about the secret menu?
Okay. So, I didn't anticipate that one. So the secret menu is partners. We call each other partners. We don't call each other employees. We call each other partners. And we do that because we're in it together. But partners make these drinks up. So when you're bored or when you're thinking, what is going to taste really good, partners make that up. And then they put it online on different types of social medias. And that's where people start picking and choosing these drinks and think, oh, that's awesome. So one of the biggest ones when I first started was the cotton candy frappuccino. So that's not actually a drink that we had. The company finally said, we have so many of these requests, and so let's make this a drink. The same thing with our pink drinks. But the really interesting thing is, if you say to me, I want a butterbeer frappuccino. Mm-hmm. So we kind of know what goes in it, but because it's not a standard that we learn on our recipe cards, it might be a little different. So you might have gotten one in a store, let's just say down the shore, and you might get one at my store, and it might be a little bit different because we don't have that standard recipe. So what we ask is, how do you want it? So you would say, I want it with the hazelnut and the toffee nut and the caramel drizzle, and there we go. So the secret menu is, if you give us the recipe of what it is and we have the products, we will absolutely make it for you. But we don't have that standard in place. Does that help answer that? Cool. What else?
So it's a real thing then.
It is a real thing, but it's not a company real thing.
Right. But yet the company has responded to
Yeah, so things like the pink drinks, the refreshers with the lemonade, the strawberry lemonade, the dragon fruit with lemonade, the dragon drink, those things that you hear. A lot of people right now are asking for like Oreo frappuccinos, which we don't actually carry, but we carry the vanilla bean with chocolate chips, or some people do the double chocolatey chip frappuccino with white mocha. And so if you don't tell me which one you want, I don't know. I'm guessing. And it might not actually be what you want. So we always like to make sure. But yes, the company has listened to their consumers, which are you guys, and said, let's do this. What's your question?
When you're not flooded with customers, what are you doing during work hours?
During work?
Yeah, like when you're not having as many customers and you don't necessarily have to always be on making drinks or supervising people.
So for my partners, there's always something to do. Obviously, you don't want to go into a dirty store. So we're always cleaning, we're always making sure that our food is safe and we're rotating our products correctly, and we're doing some cleaning and preparing for the next transition. So that might be making our mocha, making whipped creams. It might be stocking items. For me, because I do a couple different things, I'm looking at different parts of my business. So I might be looking at doing a schedule. I might be looking at adjusting the pay cards to make sure people are paid appropriately. I might be doing something that's called an observant coach. So I would sit back and see what my employees are doing and then give them feedback on the behaviors that they're exhibiting and how that can be better and how we can make that situation better. We might do something such as sampling. So we could go inside the cafe and start sampling butter croissants, or if there's a new drink, sampling that to people. There's always something to do. My motto is, if it's time to lean, there's time to clean, and there's something you'll find to do. So there's never really downtime within the company. Everybody has a different role, and we have different things in place. We call them operation cards, so it tells you different parts of the store that you can clean to the company standard. We also have, like my role, I have to make sure that my people are doing their job. And if they're not, then I have to figure out why. And then sometimes I have to take phone calls and deal with some of the situations that come up within the store, within partners, problems with customers, that sort of thing. So there's always something to do. And if people are sitting around, then they're not doing their job well. So, what else? What's your question?
What's the weirdest order you've
Oh. Usually it's somebody trying to make a frappuccino and put every syrup in it and every inclusion. So it would be like mocha, white mocha, shots of espresso, every syrup flavor, chai, matcha, a banana. Like, where are you coming up with that? You're really just putting everything in, and then they don't drink it. So it really becomes more of a waste issue for us. But that's probably one of the ones that we have. What is yours question?
Do you guys purposely mess up people's names?
So, I have been known to, so we type our names in. I have been known to misspell names. I've been known to say, well, that's your Starbucks name because I missed it. It's very loud behind the bar. So you don't hear it from a customer perspective, but when you're behind, the grinder is going for coffee because we're always making fresh coffee. The blender's going, the oven's beeping, somebody's talking. So there's a lot of background noise. So if you say your name is Jan, and I write Sam, it's not because I'm trying to be mean or trying to be disrespectful. It's just, that's what I heard. And a lot of times for us, it's really not mistakenly writing your names wrong. It's just, that's what we hear. And we try to be as quick as possible with it too. So don't take offense. Especially if you come to my store and I'm like, well, today your name is Joan. Sorry. But that's a good question too. What else do we have?
I got one. So you mentioned it's hard. It's a hard job.
Yeah.
So what's the if I'm one of these guys sitting here, what's the allure? What makes me want to work at Starbucks?
So it's a great environment in terms of getting to know people and talking to people and working as a team. The company invests a lot in their partners and they invest a lot in the people who work for them. And they do that because they want you to invest back in them. So we give really great benefits and really good pay. Our pay is above what the minimum wage is, which is very different from a lot of other jobs. As you start out, you're usually at minimum wage. We allow you to be really creative and really bring your whole self to the job. It also gives you a good sense of accomplishment to walk away saying, I really did a good job today, and I made sure that that store is clean. And we have health inspectors to come in our stores, and if your store is clean and you pass that health inspection, it really gives you a good pat on the back. And why would we be afraid of such hard work? You know, you only learn and grow from that. Some of the best connections I've made have been at Starbucks in terms of just talking with people. And even if it's not your forever job, which it isn't for everybody, it's sometimes that transitional job while you're working in school, or if you're doing two jobs, it gives you a great way to connect with people and networking. And I'm sure you guys have heard about networking with other people and networking with other companies. You really learn those types of skills that really can transfer over as you go forward. So it is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. I mean, I don't think I've had as much fun in my job, and I don't think I would be doing it for over 9 years if I didn't have fun and I didn't like it. There's certain things you get up and you're like, well, I'm really good at it, but am I happy? And if you're not happy doing your job, what's the point of getting up and doing it? So it's a lot of hard work, and I'm sure there's days that I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, but I do it because it makes me happy overall. I like seeing people get what they want and enjoy it.
So even in the mall, it opens that early?
Not in this mall, no.
Right.
No, in Jersey City, yeah. In our mall, we open at 8 a.m. So it's a little bit different.
It's still earlier than the mall then.
Yeah, it's still earlier in the mall, so we get those mall walkers. But yeah, it is very rewarding, and you don't want to go. For me, I would never want to go to a job where I'm not happy doing it.
We operate on bells in our job. Tells us when to move, when to go to the
I operate on timers.
Ours is bells.
Nice. So, anybody have any other questions? What's yours?
How do you feel about the Starbucks cup in the Game of Thrones?
So I refuse to watch Game of Thrones. So I don't really have an answer for that.
But they come out and said it wasn't a Starbucks cup. It was just a coffee cup from on the set. Yeah, I guess they didn't want to give any brand placement.
What's your question?
Is there any day of year or time of year that's more busy than other times?
Yeah, and that depends on each store. So for us, the mall during the holiday time, so from beginning of November, right before Black Friday, we're already preparing and stocking up. I'm starting to prepare for holiday next week. So that's how far in advance I'm planning and preparing for my store to be ready and set. So for us, Christmas time, obviously, any type of major holiday where the malls are going to have huge sales, that's big for us. Memorial Day next week, you guys are probably off of school. We're going to be flooded because where do people go when it's hot? They go to the mall if they want to be indoors. During, I would say probably like February to, depending on when Easter is, maybe March, end of March or April, kind of lulls down, so we're a little bit slower, and that's where we try to do some of the things, some really deep cleaning that we don't get to all the time, where we have the time to take apart different machines in the store and really get into it. So we do that type of maintenance. But that's a great question. And it depends on each store. Some stores, if you're outdoors and you're drive-through, you're going to be busier on a rainy day, because who's getting out of their car on a rainy day to go into the stores? So drive-through stores would be busier for those things.
Of your 9 years that you were working at Starbucks, which of them was the most demanding or hard to finish the year?
Probably 2016. And that was when I first got promoted to be a store manager, and I was in an extremely busy store, and it was a lot of work, and it took a lot from me, and it took a lot from my personal relationships, and from my family, because I was devoted to wanting to make my store as great as it possibly can be. But now it's kind of easy breezy. I've got a great team in place. I've got great systems in place. I use the tools that the company gives me, so it's a lot easier now. But my first year being a store manager was the most challenging and the most difficult, and time consuming.
What's the corporate approach to angry customer? Because we know that happens from time to time out.
Yeah. So we've all been to places where things are not made correctly. So our job is to make you leave as happy as possible. So if we do make a mistake on your drink, because we're human and it happens, right? We want to try to do our best. So we always want to apologize and just ask some questions. What was wrong with your drink? Was it too hot? Was it too cold? Was it supposed to be sweetened and we didn't sweeten it? Is it supposed to be made with an alternative milk like soy, coconut, or almond milk? We ask those questions, and then we want to make them as happy as possible. So we would fix the drink and make it right for them. Then there's some customers where no matter what we do, it just does not, we just can't make it right for them. So we go up the chain. So the barista tries to fix it, then the chef tries to fix it, then they bring it to me. I have a boss, so then my boss might get involved. And it really just comes down to listening to the customer. Sometimes we don't realize, but our body language shows off differently than what we're saying. So if we realize what our body language looks like, sometimes, we're saying to somebody, I'm really sorry. But if I'm saying it like that with my face, looking angry and me rolling my eyes, the customer's not going to think that we're actually sorry. So sometimes it just comes back to listening to them in a different way and hearing it on a different level. And we just try to make it right as possible. And then there's always people higher that can always try to help as well. So if I can't do it, then my boss might, and if my boss can't, then it just keeps going up. But we always make it right on some level.
Anyone else? You want to throw some of the interview questions out there and see how they handle them?
What's your question?
What was the funniest thing you saw while you were working?
I don't know if I've had anything really funny.
I'm sure in the mall somebody likes. There's some interesting characters that probably come in.
Probably people just, probably kids sucking on balloons and trying to order in funny voices, I guess, would probably be the most appropriate thing. But yeah, there's not, I wouldn't say there's anything super funny. It's just kind of there. So I brought a couple things to show you guys. So what I have posted in my back room is called a barista check-in. So it says, working together to be in the best moment in every customer's day while delivering expertly crafted products, baristas bring our mission and values for our customers each and every day while proudly wearing the green apron. So when my team comes in, I have this in my back room for them to look at. So they want to check in and see what's going on. Are they in dress code? Did they wash their hands? Because nobody wants dirty hands. Did they clock in with everything they need? So does that mean do they have a name tag on? Do they have their Sharpie so they can date products? And are they ready to create a great experience for partners and customers? And then they're going to ask the supervisor on what is their role in the play, what are their responsibilities, and who's on their team today, and is there any new communication? So for partners, for a barista, one of the things that they would do is prepare. Then the majority of their time, they're crafting and connecting with customers. And then the last part is they transition. So they make sure they do whatever they can to get the next shift ready, whether that's a closing for the opening shift, whether it's the openers leaving for the midday people, that sort of thing. And then the shift supervisor is a little bit more, and they just want to lead their shift a little bit more. So that's something that my baristas are supposed to be looking at every single day to make sure that they are ready to come to work. So I also have some interview questions. So I get probably 30 interviews in a week, or 30 applications per week into my store. And so one of the things that you brought up when we first came into the classroom is what sets you apart. So when we look at applications, we look at what people's availabilities are, obviously, because we want to make sure it fits our availabilities for our stores and our store needs. And then we also look at some other things. So what does your work history look like if you have it? Do you do any volunteering? That's something you put there. So once we get through all of that, then we do an interview. So let's see. What is, one of the questions I might ask is, think about a time that you've received exceptional customer service. What was it like? So who wants to answer? Who received exceptional customer service? Where did you ever go out to eat somewhere? Did you go to, I don't know, a clothing store and you got really great service? What did that look like? Nobody ever goes out?
Really?
I live in a bar.
Anyone ever been to Disney?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, Disney goes over the top with their customer service because they want you to feel great and come back, right? Think about how it makes you feel. Nothing?
Nothing? Not one person?
Good grief.
Man.
Do you guys even pay attention? Are you that oblivious?
I'll call on somebody. Go ahead.
One time I went to this restaurant
Mhm.
and I ordered like the same thing I usually do, but
Mhm.
it's like a really big plate of pasta, and the person who was greeting like everybody said if I finished the whole plate of pasta, I'll get a T-shirt. But,
Okay.
of course, I didn't finish the plate of pasta, but it's still a really nice thing to make a bet.
Yeah. So that left an impression in your mind. So that's some of the things I want to hear when people say, this person was so nice, or this person really made me feel welcome. That makes me say, okay, so they know what it feels like to be on that receiving end. They're going to translate that then. And that's what we look for. We want people who are going to translate that and make the experience coming into the store memorable. Because think about it, there's how many other coffee stores, there's how many other treat shops that you can go to and you can spend your money. But we want you to come and visit us and see us and give you that great experience. Have you guys ever been in a place where you didn't get good experience? That your order was wrong, or somebody was really nasty? You guys have only had mediocre experience? My goodness. Well, if you're in that type of situation, you don't want to go back. You want to make sure that you always have a great experience, and that's how we get repeat customers coming through, is by giving them an incredible experience. One of the challenges with a mall is you're not driving on the highway and seeing Starbucks. We have to work extra hard to leave that really great impression. So when people are coming shopping, they remember Starbucks is in this mall. I want to go there because they make the drinks the best and they smile, as opposed to going to any other store. You know, I'm not gonna get the foot traffic into my store if people aren't in the mall. So also the mall has to work really hard in making sure that their vendors are doing the right things as well. And so we do have mall meetings with different renters and the management in the mall to make sure that we're all working hard, because if the mall isn't succeeding, my store is not going to succeed either. So there's a lot of different levels to this. Let's see. What would you guys do if you saw somebody not doing what they should be doing in the store? How would you handle it? Go ahead. Mm-hmm. What else? What would you do?
I wouldn't be rebuttal because I might be perceiving what they're doing is wrong. I don't know what the management is. I don't know what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to tell someone else how to do the job.
Okay. Anybody else have a different perspective what they might do? What would you do?
If obviously parents are doing the wrong thing, I'm gonna try to help them, like ask them, and like not trying to make them feel bad about what they're doing.
Cool.
'Cause most of the time, people just get confused and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Cool. So all of those answers are great. If it's something like iced tea, we're supposed to shake our iced teas, and you're not shaking your iced tea, you're gonna want to say something like, "Hey, it doesn't taste right. You want to make sure you shake it." And that's something that I would hope that my peers would be able to do to each other. If there's more serious things, obviously we would bring it to management. And then also, if you're a new employee, you might not know exactly what the rules or routines are. So you would, wait it out and see what happens. So all three of those answers were great. Let's see. Have you had an opportunity present itself to help a team member teach them a new skill? So have you guys ever been really great at something and then taught a classmate that same skill? And then how would that translate to a job? Is really what that question is asking. No? Anybody else besides my same two guys who are answering? Okay, what would you say?
So it was during the football season,
Mm-hmm.
and we were on defense, and my teammate couldn't really break the offensive lineman up that well, so I taught him a swim move that he could use, and then we both started being able to get sacks and stuff like that.
Cool. So you were able to kind of listen to and see what was happening and then adjust as you need.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Anybody has any questions? Anything you want to know?
Have you guys picked up that the last two questions had to do with like your relationship or your ability to work with other people? And we talk about that a lot. The idea of community, the idea of looking out for each other. We don't just tell you these things because it makes you good seventh graders. We're trying to set you up for success in the future. Because these are the skills you're going to need. You're going to need to be able to deal with difficult people, be able to give constructive criticism. Like when a teacher asks you to work in a group and you realize that somebody in your group isn't working, isn't that not the exact scenario she just laid out for you, only in the business world? And you've all been in that situation, right? Where you're in a group and one person's just not doing their job. And you can handle it a couple ways. You could be nasty and call them names. You could tell on them, or you could be constructive and try to build them up and like Nate said, ask them, hey, what can I do to help you with this? So these are all skills you're all practicing now for the skills you're going to take out into the world someday. So you're seeing firsthand from a job interview that these are important things, working with other people. So that's why we talk about it a lot in middle school. So you're going to start developing these skills now.
And it's so interesting you said that because there's 3 different categories in the questions we asked. The Starbucks experience, which is that type of experience you get living our mission and values, which is our mission statement is one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. So we want to take care of somebody in each store and then working together. So you hit it right on the head.
Well, you also said that you don't call them your employees, you call them partners,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because partnership assumes that there's a relationship between two people. So that's, or more than two people. So these are important things, being able to work. And how many times you guys in a project in class and the teacher says something like, I'm grading you on your ability to work with other people too. It's not just how right or wrong you are here. Because like I tell a lot of our 8th graders, especially in honors classes like yourself, they're smart kids all over the place. Smart kids, being a smart kid's not going to separate you necessarily from other kids. It's your other things that you can do. The ability to work with people, that is going to separate you.
It also shows a lot of that leadership, because being a leader is not just always being in charge, it's also listening and hearing your teammates and your group that you work with and how you can make it better as a whole. So it's not just always being the one in charge. For me, being the great leader is listening to my team every single day. I ask them, what do they need? How can I help them better? How can I support them better? And that's the same thing my boss does. So I try to trickle that down to make sure my team feels supported. If they're not feeling supported, they're not going to work hard. And I need them to work hard. So that way we can have a really great experience and a really great story. What you got?
Do you like the position that you're at now, or do you want to get hired up the chain?
So I love what I'm doing. One of the things I would like to, and I'm in a path to get there, is to start training other managers. For me, I don't want to go up any higher. The next level for my company is managing the managers. And that wouldn't work for me because I want to be able to be interfacing with customers on a daily basis. That's really where I thrive. That's what I love to do. So a lateral move for me would be to start training other managers and really working more on building up the teams that we have and making that better, as opposed to the next step, which would be managing the managers, and you're not in the stores as much. It's more about the systems in place instead. So that's a great question. And that's my path. Some people's path is to move up as high as they can in the company. But for me, that's not where I'd like to go. What other question? What's yours?
Any regrets with like anything you've done, like regarding your job or anything?
I kind of wish I started earlier. But other than that, no. I love what I've done. I like the progress it took for me to get there. I wish I started a little bit earlier, maybe when I was in college and working side by side, so I'd have more years on the job. But the path that I took and how I got there, I don't think I would change that. No. And I don't regret anything.
On a daily basis, how many hours are you working generally?
So I work 40 hours a week, and I try to stick to that as much as possible, so it's about 8 hours a day. It's 8.5 hours a day. And then there's exceptions. If it's Christmas time and it's super busy, I might do an extra 1 or 2 hours in the week. I get paid for 40 hours a week. So if I'm doing 50, 60 hours, I'm not doing my job correctly. And I say that because I don't have enough staff in place. I don't have the systems in place. So I'm not being an effective leader. So I need to make sure that I'm doing those things correctly. And there are those days where you're a little bit later, or there might be, somebody gets very sick and you have to step in, and that's part of my job. But overall, if I'm working a lot more than 40 hours a week over week, then I'm not doing my job great. So I need to check and adjust and see what I can do better for it. That's a great question. Anybody else? What's your question?
Have you ever fired anyone?
Yes. Yes, very much so. And I always look at it as partner. We have a great system in place with our company that we give partners a lot of chances to learn. And we look at operational gaps and knowledge gaps or standard gaps, and we try to see what we can do better and help them. We invest a lot in our team, so we don't want to let go of people. But sometimes that does happen. So we do the best we can to keep them on board, but sometimes it just happens.
Do you hire people temporarily for certain seasons?
No, we're not that type of company. What we do though is if you are, so say on summer, you want more hours and then you go down for school, less hours, we can accommodate that, but that would be a conversation. But we don't do like just Christmas help or holiday help. We don't do just summer help because we invest a lot in getting people started in the training, and it's a pretty intense training in terms of learning both the stuff on the computer and on the floor, and it's a lot to take in. It doesn't make sense for our company to do that. But if you do want a lot of hours and a store doesn't have that to offer, we do share a lot with our teams. So there's a couple stores in our district. So they might go to an Edison store, and they might go down to the Brunswick stores to help out to get their hours if that's what they would like. What's your question?
What do you think the most important quality in a worker? Like, what's the most important thing that they need to possess?
For me, it would be, I look a lot at the way you communicate. So, and that is a huge umbrella. Do you have great body language? Because communicating is not just verbal, it's your body language and listening. It's how you communicate with me. It's how you communicate with your team. It's how you communicate with your customers. So that's a big, big, big piece for me. I can always teach people how to make a latte. That's so simple. I can teach you how to make a frappuccino. That's even more simple. But if I can't teach you to communicate kindly and respectfully, that's more my problem. So, and I think all the managers would agree that the communication piece is a big, big, big factor for us.
Didn't you guys do a lesson in Mr. Borg or Mr. Zana's class about body language and nonverbal communication?
Yeah.
Right.
Listen to that.
Again, not just because you're 7th graders, we know that that's what we expected you in the world. And we also know that a lot of people struggle with that. So it's kind of an important skill. You know,
Eye contact.
eye rolling and things like that. Looking bored, things like that. All body language.
Those are all skills we call transferable that you can bring to anything you go to. Any job you should apply for. Those are those skills. And even when you're working with college professors or high school teachers, those are things that they look for to see if you have. So they're great skills that you're learning now that you can just carry with you. So pay attention to those things. They're really, really, really important. What else is that? I need a volunteer.
Oh, you don't want to read a single question?
You've asked a lot of questions. You can come on up. All right. So, one of the greatest parts about being in Starbucks is wearing an apron. So it's practical, which is great because you don't want to get your clothes messy. But it's actually really prideful to put on an apron. And so the apron I brought today, and you can model it for us, it says Coffee Master. So that was a program that we had with Starbucks that started a couple years ago, probably about 15 years ago at this point. And for somebody to be a coffee master means that you have a lot of pride in learning about coffees and learning about the origin of coffees and where they come from, where they grow. And so I worked really, really, really hard to get this apron. And so I'm going to share it with you today so you can try it on. So when you put it on, we put it over and we tie it in the back. We don't tie it around the front. And we just want to make sure that it's not hanging too low. The other part inside the apron, it has our mission statement. And it says we create inspiring moment, not mission statement, our values. We create inspiring moments to connect in each customer's day. So that's right in on our apron. So we always have it with us. So you can go ahead and try it on. And one of the other things is with your uniform, you don't wear hoodies. And then no, it's okay. But we always want to make sure when we come into work that we're clean, our clothes are clean. Awesome. And then you tie it, and then one of the other parts, and I brought my name tag, you wear a name tag. So obviously we can connect again with people. So sometimes I have partners who are a little bit more shy, so at least if they have their name tag on, they can connect with the customer that way. How you doing?
Alright, I guess.
Do you need help?
You
got it?
Yeah.
Alright.
Not gonna tie anything in the back.
Doesn't have to be super tight. And then you would put your name tag on.
Okay.
And it goes on there right there.
Right foot?
Yeah. Nope. Up on top. It's a chockable name tag, so we change them up, we design them, we color them, we make them really awesome. Sometimes like holidays, We'll put stickers on us, like shamrocks for St. Patrick's Day, little Easter eggs for Easter. There you go. So that's, yep, there you go. So then you would be ready. You want to show up with a smile on your face, ready to work. Cool. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Anything? Anything you want to know? No?
All right, well, I knew you have to run, so.
Yeah, I have a
thanks so
meeting I have to
much.
get back
Nice
to.
to see you.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thanks for volunteering.